Hello dear students, I am Dr. Chitra Dadheech. Welcomes you all on behalf of Sonadevi Sethia Girls PG College Sujangarh on an online class for BA Part 2nd year in English Literature. First of all, for students, here I am presenting an overview of syllabus. First of all, you can see that the second year syllabus is divided into two papers. The first paper, named Poetry and Drama, the 5 units are prescribed in our syllabus. So basically, the important factor which we all should know that the Victorian and modern era are prescribed in our syllabus, and the second paper named Prose and Fiction prescribed in our syllabus. So first of all, I would like to tell you all what are the important characteristics of Victorian and modern era. As you can see on the screen, Victorian era, it was the best times for the serialized novel. It was the worst times for satire. Yes, that's the Victorian era, named for a royal lady, Queen Victoria. This period lasted 64 years. Victorian literature is literature written in England during the reign of Queen Victoria, or roughly from 1837 to 1901. It is largely characterized by the struggle of working people and the triumph of right over wrong. The Victorian age was characterized by rapid change and developments in nearly every sphere, from advances in medical, scientific and technological knowledge to changes in population growth and location. Over time, this rapid transformation deeply affected the country's mood, an age that began with a confidence and optimism leading to economic boom, and prosperity eventually gave way to uncertainty and doubt regarding Britain's place in the world. So, what's the Victorian era? Queen Victoria was 18 years old when she became the Queen of England. So, as a queen, she personally agreed with the practices and the ideals and the new commercial upper middle classes of England. In the beginning of the era, there was a widespread faith in unlimited progress. The nation grew prosperous and richer every day, and it was an era of prosperity, an era of aggressive nationalism, an era of rising imperialism. So it was an era when the movement from women's emancipations gained ground. So women were given political rights in this era. So with the reign of Queen Victoria, there began a new and golden age in literary history of English also. So the 60 years of Victorian era covered by Tennyson's working life that were rich in literature of almost every kind. So in the year 1855, there were published Tennyson's Maud, Robert Browning's Man and Women, Matthew Arnold's Ballad, Patmore's Angel in the House, and Macdonald's First War. In fiction, we can see Dickinson's Little Dorrit and Thackeray's Newcomes, Mrs. Gaskett's North and South, Kingsley's Westward Ho, etc. So there were other eminent writers such as the Rossetti, Fitzgerald, Charlotte Bronte, George Eliot, George Meredith, and in field of criticism, Ruskin, Mill and Newman. So overall we can say it was the golden era of literature. So let's have a look on modern era. Modern era, a break with the past and the concurrent search for new forms of expression. So modernism fostered a period of experimentation in the arts from the late 19th to the mid 20th century, particularly in the years following World War I. So, literary modernism or the modernist literature has its origins in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, mainly in Europe and North America, and is characterized by a self-conscious break with the traditional ways of writing in both poetry and prose fiction. So, modernists experimented with literary form and expression as exemplified by Ezra Pound's maxim to make it new. So, this literary movement was driven by a conscious desire to overturn traditional modes of representation and express the new sensibilities of their time. The horrors of the First World War saw the prevailing assumptions about society reassessed, and much modernist writing engages with the technological advances and societal changes of modernity moving into the 20th century. So, in other words, we can say when Thomas Hardy died in 1928 and the world appeared to be recovering from the consequences of the First World War, the League of Nations had failed to bring about the state of international harmony hoped for by its founders. So, poverty and the social unrest persisted in many places. In 1930, a worldwide financial crisis struck about rich and poor, which threatens the ruin to whole nations as well as brought misery to unnumbered families and individual persons. So, the poetry and prose of 1930 returned to the serious mood, and the writing of this period were preoccupied with the condition of the whole world, as Henry James, Joseph Conrad and other writers are considered modernist due to their pre-war work. So, modernism as a literary movement is typically associated with the period after World War I. So, modern literature reflected a sense of disillusionment and fragmentation, as W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, William Faulkner were considered as the modern writers. And just have a look that during the Victorian era, the main focus of writing was the idea of relating people to nature, and the modernist era, however, had no interest in expressing literature through nature. Rather, modernists preferred to express literature through science and logic. So, let's have a look at our syllabus, what is prescribed in our syllabus of second year. So, you can see on the screen, Victorian era, the modern era is highlighted in this session. So, look at the syllabus now. First of all, as you can see, the paper first, poetry and drama, the Alfred Lord Tennyson's two poems prescribed in our syllabus named The Lotus Eaters and Tears Idle Tears. As you all know that the Tennyson was the poet laureate during the reign of Queen Victoria. So, he is the greatest Victorian poet. Another poem, Rabbi Ben Ezra, written by Robert Browning, prescribed in our syllabus. Robert Browning was the English poet famous for his dramatic monologues. Next poem prescribed in your syllabus, that is written by Matthew Arnold, Saurabh and Rustam. The last lines, the concluding lines of the poem prescribed in our syllabus. So, Arnold, the English poet, critic, and he is called the third great Victorian poet along with Tennyson and Browning. G.M. Hopkins, Gerard Manley Hopkins, Spring and Fall is also prescribed in our syllabus. Hopkins is the English poet and priest, and he is famous for his concept of sprung rhythm, which established him as an innovative writer of verse. The next, W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, and his poem The Second Coming, prescribed in our syllabus. W.B. Yeats was an Irish poet and one of the foremost figures of 20th century literature, and he also awarded with the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1923. The next, T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stern Eliot, an American-born British versatile writer, and he was also awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1948. And his poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, is prescribed in our syllabus. Rupert Brooke. Rupert Brooke was the famous war poet known for his war sonnets, and his sonnet The Soldier, prescribed in syllabus. Next, Philip Larkin's Going. Philip Larkin is an English poet and novelist. The next, the dramatist John Galsworthy. John Galsworthy was an English novelist and playwright, and he also won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1932, and his drama, his play Loyalties, is prescribed in our syllabus. So as you can see, the last unit, the literary history and terms, as you know that Victorian poetry, modern poetry, poetic drama, theatre of absurd are prescribed in our syllabus. And as literary terms, dramatic monologues, inscape, instress, sprung rhythm, war poetry, ballad, free verse, blank verse, idylls, irony, epic, heroic couplet, conceit, etc. prescribed in the syllabus. So that's it in paper first. Just have a look on paper second, prose and fiction. As you can see on the screen, E.V. Lucas, Edward Verrall Lucas, essay Third Thoughts, prescribed in the syllabus. E.V. Lucas was an English humorist, essayist, playwright, biographer, publisher, poet, novelist, short story writer and editor. As you can see, a versatile writer, prescribed in the syllabus, his Third Thoughts. The next, G.K. Chesterton's essay on the pleasure of no longer being very young, means on the pleasure of being old. So G.K. Chesterton was an English writer, philosopher, theologian and literary art critic, and he is also referred as the Prince of Paradox. Next, A.Z. Gardiner's essay on superstition is prescribed in our syllabus. A.Z. Gardiner was English journalist, editor, author, and he wrote under the pen name Alpha of the Flu. The next, Huxley. Huxley was English writer, philosopher, and who wrote nearly 50 books, and his famous essay Selected Snobberies, prescribed in our syllabus. And the next essay, Hilary Belloc's In Praise of Ignorance. Hilary Belloc was the British French writer and historian during the early 20th century, and the stories prescribed in our syllabus written by O. Henry, and the story entitled The Gift of the Magi. O. Henry, William Sidney Potter, he was better known by his pen name O. Henry, was an American short story writer. The next one, Nathaniel Hawthorne, American novelist and short story writer, and his story Dr. Hedger's Experiment is prescribed in our syllabus. William Faulkner was an American writer and Nobel Prize laureate from Oxford, and he was known for his novels and short story, and his story A Rose for Emily, prescribed in the syllabus. In next unit, we can see that the Thomas Hardy's novel Far from the Madding Crowd is prescribed, and Thomas Hardy was an English novelist and poet. He is known as a Victorian realist. And in the last unit we can see the literary history and terms prescribed in our syllabus, Victorian novel, Victorian prose, and the terms as such as stream of consciousness, novel, elements of a story, scientific fiction, etc. prescribed in the syllabus. So that's it for this lecture. As you can see, I hope that you all understand it very well, and very soon all of you have a lecture on a poem prescribed in our syllabus. Till that, keep studying and keep loving the videos. Thank you.